Hey everybody, it's Karen Anderson here with Aortic Hope and this week's Week in Review coming to you by Memorex. Basically what I'm trying to say in old lady terms is we had to pre-record this one. But Week in Review, it's just an opportunity for us here at Aortic Hope to kind of go over some of the posts that we had up on our website, we had up on social media, and typically we give you guys an opportunity to banter with us live and give us your comments, but you can still put your comments at the bottom of this post, but you got to first click like and you got to click subscribe, and please click the little bell because we go live for so many different reasons. We go live obviously for this, we go live for our Survivor series. We have some really bold survivors out there that want to talk to the community directly and take questions. We go live for our live Q&A events where I interview somebody, whether it's a doctor or upcoming disability attorneys. We run the gamut on different people we bring into the show. So, but you want to be notified because sometimes we may just pop up. You never know. And we'd love for you to be part of that. And don't forget to share the post because a lot of what we talk about here really is applicable to other people and whatever other disease or issues that they're having. Someone's going to derive something out of something that we talk about. I guarantee that. So let's just jump right into it. We are going to go right to our movement for Movement Monday. And yeah, computer's just a little slow, but movement for Movement Monday. So we started this movement for movement back in 2020, right before COVID hit, which was perfect timing because we needed to get everybody up and feeling motivated and wanting to just move. So we're going to talk about this a little bit, but we do recognize that doing nothing is doing something. And sometimes that's really important, but we want to encourage everybody to move and do what they can do. Do what you can do what your doctor has approved you to do. So whatever your doctor's orders are, follow them. Don't succumb to the fear that something's going to blow inside your body. If your doctor says that you can take a little walk to the mailbox, then do it. If the doctor says that you can move, but you're feeling a little held back that day or not feeling great, and you want to just sit and fold laundry, that's still movement. And you know what? For those of you that just need a day of doing nothing, again, that is doing something. It's beneficial to your body. But let's talk about this article that came up in Neuroscience News, and it was called Exercise and the Brain and the Neuroscience of Fitness Explored. There is actually a clear beneficial connection to exercise and our brain. It stimulates and it influences our memory, and it acts as a mood regulator, and it enhances what's called brain plasticity. I got that word in, which helps us actually recover from injuries and improves our cognitive functions and our memory. So we're already hearing that if you do some type of exercise and workout, this is going to improve your mood. It's going to improve potentially your memory and some cognitive functions. So that's why it's important to get some movement in. But once you have a really good understanding of any potential limitations that you might have due to your aortic disease, any restrictions that you might have regarding exercise, always remember to work out within those parameters. And I hear it all the time. I know that that's one of the most confusing, frustrating things we have is that there is no standard. Well, there's no standard because no two people experience aortic disease the same. Some of us have comorbidities. Some of us might have asthma or lupus or any other different added ailments. And so we can't really have a standardized exercise thing because we all approach it differently. We all have different needs. So whatever you've worked out with your doctor, stay within those parameters. But in summary, the current evidence actually strongly suggests and supports that regular exercise and physical activity has remarkable benefits for brain health and cognitive function, underscoring the value of integrating regular exercise into our daily lives for physical and mental health benefits. So if you want to learn a lot more about these benefits, then you should click the link and check out the article. If I could remember to check out the article. No, see, that's why I need to exercise, because if I did it, then my memory might be a lot better. See, Sarah went there with that. Okay, we're gonna move on to Topic Tuesday. It's a hard crowd when it's just me and I'm recording. It's a hard crowd. All right, Topic Tuesday. This is fabulous. There's a lot of information in here. I may or may not go over the entire thing. We'll see. But this is kind of a graphic going over the Renin angiotensin system. It's very interesting. So it talks about blood pressure and how it actually impacts your lungs and your kidneys. So we're going to talk a lot of big words here. But Adam, who is our third year medical student, who is working with us to come up with our topic Tuesdays, breaks it down for us in it's a lot easier terminology. So you don't have to remember all of these big words. But this is our educational series from Adam Ahmed, and so happy to have him here and have him contributing. Last week, we actually discussed hypertension and different ways that you could control it. We also had a small discussion about the numbers of blood pressure and what those readings actually tell us. And he poses the question, have you ever wondered how one actually develops high blood pressure? And something we have to think about it. But we're actually in this Topic Tuesdays post, he decided to share some information about the underlying pathways by which high blood pressure arises. And he referenced a really great article from the Cleveland Clinic. But one of the most important mediators of hypertension is a system called the Renin. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. Renin, probably. Angiotensin system. And it has some big players. So he goes in to describe what angiotensinogen, oh my gosh, this is going to be fun. And he talks about how this is the large protein that's produced by your liver, which actually acts as the blueprint for the system. On its own, this protein actually does not raise your blood pressure. However, when your kidneys feel a decrease in fluid in your body, or you're not receiving enough blood flow, it releases the next big player. And he goes in to talk about how Renin, because I did not know how to pronounce it, how it actually works, and how on its own this protein really doesn't do much, but however it travels to the lung and then undergoes a major change. So all of these things play into each other, and it will change into angiotensin converting enzyme. We've all heard of ACE inhibitors, okay? So ACE is an enzyme in the lungs which converts to angiotensin 1 into angiotensin 2. So unlike the first two steps, this is where things start to get serious when it comes to creating blood pressure issues. And again, remember, we've heard of ACE inhibitors, so we know that this is a medication that's affecting the angiotensin converting enzyme. So when you move from angiotensin 1 to angiotensin 2, your blood pressure, it will raise your blood pressure in two ways. Directly, angiotensin 2 will cause your blood vessels to narrow, which causes an elevation in your overall body's blood pressure. And indirectly, it stimulates our adrenal glands. And that actually produces the final big boss in this pathway. I love how Adam throws in his language with this. And that's aldosterone. You know, he needs to come on here and he needs to say these words because I am not a medical professional. I'm just reading. All right, so aldosterone is produced by our body's adrenal gland, and it's released into our bloodstream under the influence of angiotensin 2. It then goes on to our kidneys and directly absorbs more salt and water from our urine. And more fluids and salts in the body means more volume in our blood vessels, which means overall greater pressure. And in layman's terms, we've talked about this. Too much salt, too much blood volume, higher blood pressure. So these names, they sound overwhelming. Yes, they do. And believe me, they're overwhelming to pronounce. But he's going to say, don't worry. Let's try to think about them in a step-by-step fashion. And he said, remember, tips for a medical student that painfully had to memorize all of these, okay? As Adam says, we start with angiotensinogen. I think I got that one right, which is the longest word in the pathway. Gets cut into a smaller word, basically protein. So angiotensin 1 by Renin, it's probably Renin, from the renal systems, the kidneys, it gets converted into angiotensin 2 in the lungs by an angiotensin converting enzyme. So 1 gets converted to 2 by an enzyme in the lungs. So we go from the kidneys to the lungs and it gets converted. And angiotensin 2 goes to the adrenal glands and that releases aldosterone. Again, crossing my fingers, I'm pronouncing this all right. But be sure to pay extra close attention to the words we put an asterisk next to. So they will come in helpful next time when we talk as we learn about common drugs that are used to control blood pressure. See, I gave you a hint when I talked about the ACE inhibitors. So Adam says, thank you so much always for tuning in. And I hope that you found this really enjoyable, trying to listen to me pronounce these words that I have no idea what emphasis on the syllable I'm supposed to place. Still, very good information if you think about it, where these enzymes come from, how they're converted, where it moves across the body. And ultimately, these enzymes, this protein that leads to an enzyme, seems like this is what can cause high blood pressure. It's probably one of the ways. So I'm excited to learn a little bit more about the medications and reference back to the PDF that we have in our resources from Dr. Kristen Watson of all of the classifications of medications. And this sounds like we're going to lead to a lesson learning about the ACE inhibitor drugs. This is, again, some of the enzymes that we've just talked about here. So hopefully it's grabbing your attention, because this is what's potentially happening in your body. And I think I personally think it's fun to learn the backstory about what's happening. It helps me even more understand the importance of controlling my blood pressure and the various ways I can do so. So that's your enjoyable topic Tuesday. All right. Moving on to Therapeutic Thursday with hopefully some more words that are a lot easier for me to pronounce. And I know there are, because this is about EMDR. And I know EMDR. And it was brought up by a community member. They went to their neuropsychologist for cognitive testing. And this happened to me as well. And the reason was because the belief is that we're experiencing pump head. Now, pump head is real for some community members. I mean, the struggle is real. We're talking about short-term memory loss, inability to put together sentences. That word is right there on the tip of your tongue. This is not the typical stuff that happens as we age. This is stuff that happens following open heart surgery, not for an emergency dissection only, but just open heart surgery in general. When you've been on the bypass machine, people are finding that they're struggling to process, they're struggling to complete sentences, they're struggling to remember sometimes where they're going. Did they shut the garage door? A wide variety of things. I used to turn the oven on and I couldn't remember why I turned the oven on. So I'd have an alarm set to remind me, or maybe it was I was cooking rice on the stovetop. I'd put an alarm on and then I would be like, what's that beeping? I didn't even remember that I was boiling water, whatever the case may be. It was bad. And so we chalk it all up a lot of times to this pump head, which again is real. I'm not saying it isn't real. However, what myself and this community member found by going to a neuropsychologist was that a lot of these short-term memory and processing issues can actually be caused by anxiety and caused by post-traumatic stress. Doesn't have to be a disorder, just post-traumatic stress in general. Any kind of anxiety that is caused from trauma, and this includes health or medical trauma. So again, some of this forgetfulness and anxiety may not be because you were in a heart-lung machine or a bypass machine. It can be that you've been now left in this state full of anxiety, full of worry, full of medical trauma, and it's impacting your brain as well. So let's talk about this article. According to Health News, there was an article written by Jana Nickert, who's an MFT, called EMDR Psychotherapy. And is it the quickest way to treat PTSD and anxiety? So in order to figure that out, we kind of need to know what EMDR is. And it's actually defined as eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. It's a form of talk therapy, yes, it is, because you do have to do some talking before you actually get into the hands-on therapy. But research has actually shown that this particular type of therapy is very effective at treating trauma and post-traumatic stress disorders. It also can be used to treat a variety of general anxiety disorders too. The length of therapy or the number of sessions that's needed to treat this trauma will actually vary from one person to another, depending on a variety of factors. So I know that it has been very effective in working with members of the military. And it's so effective, it's so scientifically based that a lot, if not the majority of insurance companies will cover this treatment. The question is, of course, can you find a therapist who will take insurance. That's a whole other situation, but it is scientifically based and backed therapy. And there, in this article, they actually talk a lot about EMDR, but I interviewed Amy Wagner, who is an LCSWC, and she specializes in and is credentialed to perform EMDR therapy. And you can click the link in this blog post to actually see that exchange between she and I on our AHTV YouTube channel. But for the most part, to explain to you what EMDR is in kind of like even more layman's terms than this article, at the end of the day, just like a computer, your brain downloads all of its experience, every experience it had all day long. 99.999% of it is run of the mill. It's the same thing, maybe a slightly deviated version. I saw a car driving down the road. I saw a person walking with an umbrella. I saw a cute dog. I ate food I didn't like, whatever the case is. It downloads it and it puts it into these appropriate folders on the shelf. Dog walking, ate food I didn't like, saw a car, the whole 9 yards. And then when something happens that's very different, like let's say you saw a car accident right in front of you and someone flies out the window, as horrible as that sounds, your brain's going to be alarmed by that because that doesn't happen all the time. That's different. And the hope is that your brain processes that appropriately and puts it into its file. But for some people who would walk away from that situation and obviously be jarred or traumatized by it, in that moment, you're smelling things, you're hearing things, you're seeing things, your brain just kind of, it's like a misfiring of wires. So when you go to sleep, which is when all this downloading takes place during your REM stage, your eye movement stage of sleep time, when your eyes are doing that back and forth motion is when all that stuff is getting downloaded. Something can go awry, and it's going to download that experience with bizarre emotions and responses attached to it. And so now what happens is the next time you see a car pull into that same intersection or anywhere, you may think you hear something, think you smell something. You may actually think you're seeing something, and none of those things are actually happening. But it triggers a response in you that's not great, doesn't feel good, might make you, kind of cower a little bit. It might make you feel sick to your stomach. It could make you have a headache. It could make you have nightmares if things got downloaded improperly. So think about people who have to have aortic dissection, people who need to have surgery and it's an emergency. Their brain doesn't really have time to process everything. You're already having some potential cognitive impairments as the blood flow's gone wonky. The body's going into shock. And so a lot of times we come out of that situation with PTS or anxiety or forgetfulness that becomes even more uh, you become even more forgetful and the anxiety grows because you're feeling anxiety. So because you're feeling anxious, you start to feel more anxious and it's this vicious cycle. And the more anxious your brain can be, the more forgetful one becomes. This is definitely connected. This is coming from my neuropsychologist because I am not a doctor. I'm just relaying to you information that's been told to me through interviews and through my own personal experience. So through my personal experience, it was suggested to me that based upon my cognitive testing, which was great, but based upon my symptoms of anxiety, nightmares, sweats, smelling things, hearing things, all of that, that I tried EMDR therapy. Again, through eye movement, you have an opportunity to desensitize yourself and reprocess the information that got downloaded. Remember when we talked about it at nighttime? So it forces you to be put in a situation where you have the same eye movement that mimics REM stage sleep, but you're awake. So what happened in my experience is I had a chance to talk all about this in the talk therapy portion with my therapist. And then when we were ready to engage in the actual EMDR, my version was holding paddles. And I say my version because sometimes to produce that eye movement, you just need to move your finger back and forth and have somebody look at your finger going back and forth. And then what happens? Your eyes are going back and forth. I didn't want to do that. My eyes get very dry. I know sometimes some therapists use a light that blinks back and forth, but other therapists don't want to do that because it could produce possible seizure um, in those that are prone to that. It's kind of like a strobe light effect. Mine was holding paddles. I closed my eyes. I was told to think about a period in time in my past that maybe I found bothersome or worrisome. And I thought about a time that was related to my dissection that I thought was the most bothersome. And I held my paddles, and then they just kind of vibrate left and right and left and right. Now, when your eyes are closed, you're naturally going to look left and right because you're feeling a sensation, left side, right side. It would be the same as someone just tapped on the left or the right, or I did this to myself and just closed my eyes and tapped. My eyes are naturally going to move. After about, let's say it was 15, couldn't have been more than 30 seconds, we talked about what I felt, what it brought up. And through a variety of these sessions, multiple sessions of this in one sitting, what I discovered for myself is it really wasn't the dissection that was causing me a lot of stress. This was unprocessed medical trauma that goes way back to when I was 11 years old. I mean, probably further back than that. It's not hypnosis. It doesn't bring out memories that I didn't already know about. I just didn't relay them to this. I didn't connect it. And so the more I got to go through this process, the more I had a chance to download my memories and put them in a bucket with more appropriate emotions, more appropriate thought processes. And naturally, then what I experienced around my dissection was, it just wasn't as scary anymore. I don't know. It's kind of like just very strange how it works, but it works. I went from someone who I could walk into a room and it just took seeing anything that took me back, and I would smell alcohol all the time. I could hear beeping of the heart machine. I'm in my kitchen, so there's no reason why I should be smelling or hearing that. Or this could have happened in a mall. It could happen anywhere. If I saw an ambulance or I heard the siren, I put my car in park and I would be under the steering wheel. It didn't matter where I was. It happened so seamlessly and fast. It was very problematic, and I was having a lot of nightmares, especially nightmares about drowning. And once I started doing the EMDR, about 8 weeks or so, and it was hard. It was hard because it gave me headaches for a while. It was hard to go through all of this hard work. I'd say probably at least 90% of it just went away. Just it went away. It doesn't mean that I'm not aware that I still have some PTS in my life, but all of the things connected to it, the anxiety, the intense forgetfulness, really significantly reduced. And then I just implement games and tools on my phone and methods. Like if I'm having a really anxious roundup day and I go to shut the garage door, I touch the garage, and then I don't have to drive by my house 6 times to make sure that the garage door didn't spontaneously go up, right? But we've all had moments like that. But I've implemented tools to combat the remaining residual issues like forgetfulness and anxiety. I do recommend people going back in for a tune-up when you start to feel really overwhelmed with just life in general, because you don't want to have any of those triggers come back, but they do sometimes. Bottom line is EMDR worked, and it worked for me. I heard about it from community members, and then my neuropsychologist said, go try it. And it made a huge difference. And again, it is a little bit of hard work, but this can be used for anything. If you have a phobia of spiders, it could be used. I'm not trying that though, but I do have a phobia. But the point is people who do these techniques have to experience this for themselves. Not every therapist can do EMDR. You have to become certified in doing it, and therefore it has to be done to them to understand what you experience. It's not painful. It's not jarring. It's it it's so mild, and yet the results are so grand. So check out the video with the link here for YouTube. Listen to this therapist talk a little bit about it. Read the article. I'm curious to know if anybody has actually done this themselves. And I hope for those of you who are struggling that you do bring these issues to your physician's attention. Find a therapist that you connect with. There's other therapeutic ways of fixing PTS and anxiety other than EMDR. I mean, you can do cognitive talk therapy. there's a variety of therapies. I'm just telling you that I know that the EMDR worked very well for myself and other people. And if you are struggling, I hope you do reach out and get some support, because there's no reason to sit and struggle. All right. Therapeutic Thursday. There we go. I find my mouse. Okay. Moving on. We are moved on to Feel Good Friday. Not that Therapeutic Thursday didn't feel good. I promise you will feel better. We're on to Feel Good Friday. All right. What better way to kick off the weekend than to remind you about the thoughts that community members have about aorta cope? And I don't think there's a way, maybe there is, for me to, I can share my screen and show you this video. Don't know if I can have the sound involved. Let's see. Probably can't. So I don't, oh yeah, I think I can. I think I can get that up there. Nope, I can't because it's on a different screen. All right, well, at least you're going to get a chance to see the video part, but there's some great music. What you're going to find in this video here is quotes from um, people in the community, and just basically what they think of aorta cope, what it means to them, what they've derived out of working with us and receiving support from us over the last 5 years. And there's so many community members in here. It's over 8 minutes long. It's worth watching, especially if you're new to aorta cope. You wanna check this out. You wanna get a feel for almost like reading reviews. That's what it is. You're reading reviews to some really great music, and you're seeing the faces. Oh, that's me, of community members who talk the talk and walk the walk. People who are caregivers, or they're people who have aneurysms or dissections, and you're just going to get a feel for what being part of this community has been like for them. So I'm not going to show all 8 minutes, but that is giving you a feel on some of the stuff that's in this video. So you should check it out when you get a chance. Check that out. And if you would like to share your thoughts about what aorta cope means to you, you can do that through a page called Great Nonprofits. If you click the link, it's going to take you to a page where you're going to have an opportunity to click on stars. You know, 1 is not good. Click on 5. Click on 5 or 4, and put a description of maybe your experiences with us. You can add photos. There's a lot you can do in there. It's very simple. Give yourself 3 minutes, and we'd love to hear your thoughts. We'd love to read what this community means to you. So that was Feel Good Friday. All right. We also wanted to let you know that we're in the midst of a fundraiser right now with a phenomenal logo. Let's check out this baseball logo if we can get closer. Let's see. I don't know that I can get closer. I can, but I don't know how to do it right now. So, all right, we've got our traditional classic icon, right? But we've altered it a little bit to have a baseball right where that head is in the middle. On one of the hearts, there's a baseball hat. On the middle heart, there is a baseball bat. And on another heart, there is a baseball glove with our website at the bottom. And then on the back, it says Go Team. So what's great about this is anybody can have their own baseball limited edition piece of clothing or baseball cap. If there's specific colors, like for us here in Maryland, we are actually having a fundraiser at the end of June, and we are going to an Orioles game, and Oriole colors are black and orange. So this works out perfect for us. But if there's a team color that you'd like that you don't see up here, just send us an email to info@aortacope.org, and we will create the color combinations for you. So we've got it in our traditional gradient. We've got it in black, we've got it in white, and there's so many different clothing color options that we will do our very best to try to make your limited edition baseball shirt come true for you. So every shirt, as I mentioned, has the iconic 3 hearts, but it's been redesigned for the baseball season. And again, with the Go Team stretched across the back. On the baseball cap, the Go Team is on the side and the logo is on the front. So there is a link. You can click that, and you can also send us the email and we'll create it for you. I happen to think this is like one of my favorites, and I love the hat. So I'm definitely getting the hat. All right. That was our Friday fundraiser reminder. Okay. So then that brings us to our latest installment for Scientific Sunday, Genetic 101 from our Director of Genetic Education, Ryan Rottermer. So hopefully there's not a lot of big words in this, but I'm not reading the entire thing on here. We're just going to read a little bit of this, but over the weeks, Ryan is basically discussing a variety of topics that are related to genetics. Very, very important stuff. And you should use this information as a tool to have discussions with your own physicians to determine if this is something that's important to you. It's not a requirement. It's not a requirement. And there's a lot of factors that go into having genetic testing, especially if you're going to have your children genetically tested, because depending on how you go about having those genetic tests done, clinically, those results are fair game for any business to be made aware of. And I'm specifically referring to insurance, long-term disability, stuff of that nature. Research, it's anonymous, and so they don't show and share those results. Clinical, you'll get the results back regardless of what the results are, and you get them in a fairly quick turnaround. Research, not necessarily true. You might not get a result if it shows negative, and it could take a long time. Usually they bundle them in 100 samples, so that's 100 people, and then they go to the lab. So if they're sitting at 80, you're going to be waiting a while until they get to 100 and then process it. So it's a little bit more time consuming, but it's definitely more anonymous. So leading up to this, over the last couple of weeks, Ryan has discussed and written articles about how aortic disease can actually be inherited and from multifactorial disease. So think multiple genes and environmental factors, lower risks, later age, often abdominal aorta involvement, to single gene causes that is a part of a larger syndrome like Marfan, Loewe Dietz, vascular Ehlers-Danlos syndromes, and those that are confined to the thoracic aorta, which are non-syndromic hereditary thoracic aortic disease. So that's its own disease in itself. But let's chat about an important topic that kind of ties all of that was mentioned together, and that's genetic testing, because that's how you figure out what you have, right? And Ryan wants to mention you can always email him directly at ryan@myaorticjourney.com. You can also request to speak with him through info@aortichope.org. The benefits of genetic testing, let's at least get into that, and then you can have a chance to read this blog. So why would somebody want to have genetic testing for aortic disease? He wants to let you know what survivors, families, and caregivers need to know. So if you or your loved one has survived aortic dissection, you'll likely understand the importance of early detection. That's really, really key. And treatment for aortic disease. However, did you know that genetic testing can offer significant benefits for the management of aortic disease as well, and prevention of the condition? So having that genetic testing could help in those areas as well. So in this post, he's actually going to discuss the benefits of genetic testing for aortic disease and what survivors, families, and caregivers really need to know. And that's by going through what actually aortic disease is, and then talking about the benefits of testing, identifying any underlying genetic mutations, surveillance for multi-system complications, guiding clinical management, screening your family members, who, what age, when, how, where, all of that's going to be discussed. And then also relief from uncertainty. So basically, in conclusion, genetic testing can actually offer some significant benefits for the management and prevention of aortic disease. And if you have an opportunity to identify the underlying genetic cause of a condition, facilitating multi-system monitoring, guiding clinical management, and screening family members actually will save lives. Additionally, genetic testing can actually offer some relief from the uncertainty and the fear that accompanies aortic disease. It's that whole unknown. So if you or your loved one has a history in your family of aortic disease, or someone passed suddenly and you're not sure because there wasn't an autopsy and people just chalked it up to a heart attack, then you really do want to talk to your healthcare provider. This is the whole think aorta, think family mantra. And you want to find out if genetic testing is right for you and your immediate family members. And together, you and your physicians can actually make informed decisions about managing your health and reducing your risk for complications. It's not the cure, but the key in thinking about your aorta and thinking about your family is to kind of figure out who might be at potential risk as soon as you can. Determine what type of diagnostic or genetic testing you want to do, and then you can figure out how best to monitor your family members if necessary. This way, if there's going to be a potential issue with the aorta, maybe they can uh, figure that out and diagnose that before the elusive aortic dissection happens. That's what you want to really try to avoid, because that's the most potentially fatal, and that's the rarest. The rest of it all is much more common than you think. So give this a check. Me personally, I have been genetically tested. There is a gene of a variant of unknown significance. A VUS is what it's called, VUS, variant of unknown significance. It's just something that they follow. I think there may be somebody else in the world who has this same variant. Does that mean I'm related to them? I don't know. But it's not of anything that's that grandiose yet. They didn't even have a name for it 8 years ago, but now all of a sudden there's a bunch of letters and numbers next to it. So it may become something for myself. Otherwise, I tested negative, hard negative for all of the well-known syndromes and conditions. And my parents were tested as well. We never heard back anything. This was through research, so we have only to assume there was nothing there. I know that there couldn't have been because there's nothing on me. So I am not going to move forward with genetically testing my child. That is something I will leave up to him to make that decision. But what I will say to that is treat him as though there is that great possibility there could be a problem in the future. So he has already had an echo. He will be having a CAT scan, and he is monitored 3 to 5 years. They take a look at him. They make sure he's doing fine, because the sooner, if we need to find something, if something's going to be found, the sooner we can diagnose that, the sooner maybe there's intervention to keep anything really potentially fatal from happening. So right now we're at the monitoring phase, and I'm good with that. I don't need to, there's nothing to really test if there's nothing that's been identified in me. So even if there were, with a 50-50 chance that it could happen to him, you just assume it's there. You just assume. That's my feeling. You may feel that if there's something within you, you definitely want to know for sure if it's in your own child or your sibling. It's a very personal choice. Again, this article goes into a lot of reasons, benefits, negatives, whatever the case may be. And this is where talking to your physicians and deciding what the best plan for your current situation is. But this is really good stuff, and we really appreciate Ryan contributing to this genetics series for us. Okay, we're moving on. Reminder of our events. And we are presently into, well, we just finished a lot of events, but moving forward, we do have on Thursdays our Aorta Hangouts at 2 p.m. There is a link for those to join. You just need to fill out the form, which is the same form that you're going to fill out for our support groups. But you'll be notified about the Hangouts on Thursdays, and you'll be notified about our support group meetings. So our support group meetings happen on the first Tuesday of every month at 12 p.m. Eastern, and the last Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern as well. Excuse me. So those three are all connected, but the dates are all on here. In addition, every Monday, 3 p.m., we present to you our week in review. Typically it's live, and it's usually me or it's Tammy. And we usually have guests that pop on board, and we'd love to hear from you again in the comments section. This is why you need to click the button, the little bell, because you need to subscribe and get notified of all these great things. All right, we have our final episode of the Aorta Kitchen with Chef Rob and Mindy Seltzer. And so they are going to, I don't know what they're going to do on the final episode. I can't wait to see. All I know is I've loved the prior 3 episodes. So if you have a chance, you might want to jump on for this, check it out. We always accept donations, are greatly appreciated. There's a link to donate as well there. Also, there's one right here on our website in the upper right-hand corner. And then we have a live Q&A coming up on June 22nd. And this, it says here 2 p.m. I think that is a misprint. I do believe that is at 7 p.m. It is at 7 p.m. This is with Dougherty, Cella, and Keene. Now, they are specialists of navigating the disability process. So if you're having difficulties in obtaining your disability, this is a very wonderful live event. You will have so many of your questions answered. If you're just getting ready to start the process, then you really want to tune in, because I'm hearing through the grapevine the process is just getting even more hairy scary. So it's not impossible, and everybody's case is different. But in different parts of the country, the timing on how you can get approved, it is baffling to me. We're one country and it is so different in different parts of the country. But if you're thinking about disability, or you're in the midst of it right now, or you have any questions about disability or SSDI or whatever the case may be, bring your questions. You can put them in the comments section during this live event. We will answer them for you live. And if you would like to remain anonymous, you can always send us a question at info@aortacope.org, uh, and we will ask the questions for you. So you want to join that on the 22nd at 7 p.m. And that's pretty much it, other than all the stuff that I've told you about through the end of the month. Yeah, so it's still a very busy June. We still have got half of it to go. We're excited to have you here with us. And yeah, same time, same plan. Next Monday, 3 p.m. I'd love to see you or hear from you. Actually, I think that's yeah, I think on the 26th, we might be doing some giveaways, because it's going to be like the day after somebody's birthday, and so I might be feeling a little generous, and I might want to do a giveaway. But you got to view, you got to be online with us to win, kind of like lotto. You got to play to win. But I hope to see you again. Click like, click subscribe, click the bell, leave a comment, click share. These are all very quick things that you can do. I hope you got something out of this week's week in review, and we will see you soon. Take care.